Well, welcome to the channel, folks. Mr. H here for a big update and discussion video, I guess, on Robocop Returns. Neill Blomkamp is no longer doing it. Now, there's a few things to kind of note as we go through this video. Is that as little as June 29th, we heard news that the script was being written, it was going well, and imagine watching Verhoeven do a follow-up film. It was a question posed to Neill, and that was his response. Then he was asked very specifically whether or not that meant the original suit, and he said 100%, well, 1,000,000% original, and it all looked good. But then if we start to Neill Blomkamp's, I really like Neill Blomkamp, like I genuinely do, and I would love to have him on the show. Would love to have him on this channel as an interview. I really would, because I really like his work. I genuinely do. And he's very active on Twitter. But as we start to go down from the June 29th announcement of Robocop, anyway, and he was retweeting stuff, you know, on June 29th. But then it all goes quiet again. And something's clearly happened. Now, he starts to talk about Firebase and Oats and things like that, which I think Firebase was fantastic. I did a review of that. I thought it was amazing. Now, this is where it starts to get a little bit more... Yeah, we're talking speculation, sure. But as we get down to... Is it around here? I'll be back soon. Okay, what's going on there? And then he starts tweeting some more things. And then we get this. 8 hours ago, I should call Sharto, because comingsoon.net said, hey, Neill Blomkamp, where's that sequel to District 9? And then 2 hours ago, so 6 hours after that, we get the announcement from Neill Blomkamp himself saying, off Robocop. I'm shooting a new horror thriller, and MGM can't wait. Need to shoot Robocop now. Excited to watch it in theatres with other fans. N. Now, I've personally reached out to Neill Blomkamp just to see if he'd give a statement. Don't know whether he would. So, at the time of recording this video, there has been no reply, which, in fairness... Unfortunately, I have to get this video out quick because it's news. And he's probably asleep because of the time zone. So he's not replied yet. And I'm not saying that that's a negative or a detriment to anything. I genuinely, move my microphone, I genuinely think it's just to do with time zones. So what does this mean? Neill Blomkamp off, Robocop Returns. What's happened in between all of that time? Something's happened. Something's happened. Now, I'm not trying to say that the new horror thriller is going to be District 10. It can't be. It can't possibly be, because it's not. District 9 was not a horror, you know, and District 10 wouldn't be either. Now, the other comments here, people start obviously clutching at straws and going, oh, it's new, it's Alien, it's Halo, and all of these things. Not going to be those things at all. And people rightfully said, you know, not him. It's the studios that won't let this amazing director do their thing. Probably because he and obviously starts talking about, you know, losing money and things like that with some of the films. But what could this be? What could he possibly be directing? And I would hazard a guess it's not for MGM. Whatever he's doing, it won't be for MGM. And the reason why I say that, if he was working with MGM already, they would have happily paused it. But he looks like he's having some work elsewhere. But he says, I am shooting new horror thriller. Now, we don't know what that is yet. But I would hazard a guess it could be for Oats. There's a high possibility it could be for the Oats Studios. But it definitely won't be for MGM. Just based on the fact that he was working with MGM on Robocop. Now, there were a few other things which came out, which I think which I think threw a spanner in the works. Now, Ed Neumeyer, or Ed Neumeyer, however you say his name, Neumeyer, was interviewed. He was interviewed by a fellow outlet, a fellow YouTube outlet, and he revealed an awful lot of stuff really, really early on, which he probably shouldn't have done. You know, we're talking things about script, comments, about characters returning, quite a lot of stuff. And I feel that may have thrown a spanner in the works, because it was so early on. In fact, hang with me. Okay, so I've got it here. Now, this is another outlet, another YouTube outlet that does some corresponding work on a website. It's HN Entertainment. Now, they framed this as, oh, we've got the exclusive. And they may have done, but I think this is almost a cry for help from the writers as well as the director and just the studio in general. So exclusive, Ed Neumeyer talks Robocop Returns, teases augmented villain, and has a compelling argument for Peter Weller's return. Now, he said, yes, I'm a producer at the moment. We talked about it a couple of years back, and I reminded them that we had written a very rough sequel back in 1988, which then was stopped by the writer's strike the same year. And they looked at it and they said, oh, good. So we did some more work on that, and then Neill Blomkamp found out about it, and he said, I have always wanted to do this. This is my dream project. And MGM was very, very pleased to get into business with him. So, this was written way back in January of 2019. And that was really the most we'd heard about it. There wasn't much that had released past that. And I genuinely think this threw a spanner in the works. Because you've got to remember, this isn't stuff which really should have been spoken about so early on. And the way the movie industry works, when things are being discussed so openly so early on. And there was some really, really open stuff here. We're talking about villains, we're talking about augmented humans. Do you know what I mean? Quite heavy story points. They do this to try to drum up some interest. They do this because they haven't completely solidified the project, and I think that's what happened. I don't know. Okay, I did say from the outset some of this would be a discussion, speculation piece. But the signs are there, and you only have to look at other projects, how people tout off non-stop, and then they never come to anything to see that there's some precedent here. I don't want to spoil anything, but we had some ideas about, shall we say, about the future of augmented humans. And one of our villains is that, and our other villain lives in the corporate world somewhat as before. But, the Robocop thing for me was always exploring man's relationship with technology, coping with technology. I don't want to spoil anything, but here's the villain, and here's the other villain. You're spoiling it completely. As you know from the press that Neill Blomkamp wants to bring back Peter Weller. Awful. That transcript's terrible. As you know from the press that Neill Blomkamp wants to bring back Peter Weller back. And what you get when you do that, if you use the DNA of the old property in the new, where's the commas? Is that you get something that shares continuity and fans can embrace the brand. It's not too different, and what you realise is that when I was sitting and writing 30 years later, rewriting the second draft of our sequel to Robocop, which is called The Corporate Wars at the time, is now called Robocop Returns. I kept hearing Peter's voice. Peter adds a lot to that. So look, he's off the project. Neill Blomkamp is 100%. He's off the project, and I think there's a precedent for this being because it was never completely solidified. I really, honestly, Neill Blomkamp, you're not going to be watching this video. I'm aware. But if you are, dude, I would love to interview you. I'd love to have a chit chat with you. I really, really would. Like I said, I have reached out to Neill Blomkamp for comment. Hasn't replied, but that's genuinely time zones. So, and I have to get this video out there because it's news. But if he does reply, and maybe we can get a brief interview going, then hopefully we'll learn a little bit more, and hopefully we'll know what his new horror thriller is, because any project from Neill Blomkamp is something which I my ears perk up for. I want to see what it is. I want to know what this director does next, because a lot of people disregard his main theatre releases. That's fine. But if you look at the Oak Studio stuff, that will probably convert you into someone that will, be like me, someone that, pricks your ears up when you hear what he's doing, because it'll be interesting to see what he does. So anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down below in the comments section. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe. You can stay up to date on the world of pop culture and movie news by turning the bell notifications on. If you want to support the channel further, I've got my Patreon linked down below in the description box. That really does help me out. Also, Amazon affiliate link, and also my Teespring underneath every single video. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been Mr. H. Take care.